First of all, guys, I want to thank you for bringing rock and roll back into the world. I mean,
oh shucks,
or at least into the charts, because I think that's a great mission, actually.
It is, huh? Yeah. Well, we'd reveal more of our mission, but we had to eat the tape that the mission was given to us on. It was either eat it, you know, this recording will self-destruct in 10 seconds.
Yeah. No, but actually, oh, look at that. People are swimming here with their clothes on.
Their clothes on. Idiots.
Crazy idiots. But what you have done is no less, I think, than throwing a bomb into the whole music business. Don't you think?
So?
Yeah.
I wish we would have thrown a bomb in the music business and they all would have been at least dismembered. But I don't know, it was more like a firecracker, ladyfinger.
Yeah.
Pop, you know, that's about it. I mean,
a small snap of the finger.
That's right, exactly.
Is that, you mean from your point of view?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, if you just look at it, I mean, we just kind of came into this thing with really high ideals, but now it seems like a lot of the garbage is proliferating, and so we've got more of a jaded perspective on things. Nothing new. It's just that our band happened to penetrate into the mainstream.
Yeah, so mainstream kids now are realizing the fact that they can start bands.
Yeah.
I think that's very good. It's very nice and flattering that we helped aid something like that. But I don't know, that ideal has always been around in the underground. And to me, it seems kind of it seems really sad that so many people have a hard time finding small record shops or underground or independent type of music, where in every city there's at least 2 or 3 of those kind of shops. And it doesn't seem to me to be that hard of a thing to find, you know? But some people are so, I don't know, narrow-minded or just unaware to where they need something like someone as accessible as us to be thrown into their faces to where they realize that there are small record shops and independent labels and people doing things on their own.
Maybe that's the most important thing then with the whole Nirvana thing, as it is called, that you actually give people the chance to find other bands, you know, finding those record shops and stuff.
Well, yeah, just in like interviews, just naming names of bands. So maybe somebody could be watching and goes, "Oh, I never heard of that band. Maybe I'll go check them out."
Yeah, like bringing Teenage Fan Club on tour with you now.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. You've been on tour with like Shonen Knife.
It's as simple as this. Go to your telephone directory, look into the pages where it says record shops, call up all the record shops and ask, do you sell independent music? Do you sell independent records? And then find the address. If they say yes, go to the shop, find fanzines, and there are all kinds of little there are distributions of little fanzines and magazines that are homemade by kids who are fans, which is why they're called fanzines. And then they can find out about all this kind of music. It's really simple. They really shouldn't need bands like us to tell them about things like that. It's a really simple thing to do.
I think that the hysteria around now is a bit ridiculous.
I don't know. I don't really pay a lot of attention to it. I mean, hysteria. We got a lot of attention. You know what I mean? A lot of Teen Spirit was kind of played into the ground. Kind of made me feel a little self-conscious. You know. What do you guys think of hysteria?
Oh, it's a load of shit. I think there are at least 10 to 15 other bands who are just as good, if not better than us, and they deserve just as much attention as we do if they choose to take that attention, if they want it, you know. But I think the reason that we've become so popular is because we were on a major label and we were exposed. We had the tools and the access to the mainstream in order to expose ourselves to the mainstream.
She has me like a Pisces when I am weak. I've been locked inside your heart-shaped box for weeks. I've been drawn into your magnetar trap. I wish I could eat your cancer when you turn back.
Yeah, because I mean, if you've been following American independent or alternative music for a while, I mean, there's from the mid-'80s there've been loads of really good bands like Sonic Youth and
Better bands and
Butthole Surfers and Pixies and all of these guys. And
there's always been really good substantial stuff underneath the surface ever since the 60s, you know?
Yeah.
And just for some reason, I don't know if there's some conspiracy or it might be just that labels invest money in some crap and they just want their money back, and so they just shove this down the throats of the mainstream. Or they've read some demographic survey says that, you know, people want more disco or whatever, and they say give more disco, and then people are given disco or whatever, and then they say in the survey that they want disco. It's just like a vicious circle.
So it's the same thing with the hippies. It's like the hippies started out in San Francisco with a small group of people, and by 1967 the people who started the hippie movement denounced the hippie movement by the time before it became commercialized, because I feel the same way with underground music. Once it gets commercialized, it really doesn't matter, because by the time that all the hippies...
It's not underground anymore, that's for sure.
Yeah, but by the time the hippie movement was so huge and the mainstream was aware of it, the fringe people, you know, the people in the suburbs who weren't aware of the hippie movement at the beginning, finally turned into hippies, but they were fake hippies, you know what I mean? They weren't really hippies, they were just growing their hair long and smoking pot every once in a while and talking about peace and love, but they really didn't understand it. And that's what's happening with the supposedly alternative underground music scene right now. And it happened in the early 80s with New Wave, you know? It's just a cycle. And
That's inevitable, isn't it?
oh, sure, yeah. But I don't know, I may sound really negative about it, but I sincerely think that the generation underneath our generation, the kids who are around like 15 or even 9 to 12 to 20 years old are a bit more aware and a bit more intelligent. I think education is a little bit better right now, and the reason that kids are more educated is because they choose to be more educated. I don't know why that is. I can't explain it, but I just feel like kids right now in their teenage years are a lot more aware of things, and they're a bit more passionate about things. They're not as cynical as we were when we were teenagers.
Everybody's trying to sign, you know, the next Nirvana. It's become sort of a ghost in the record industry. Who will find the next Nirvana?
Well, the same thing happened in the punk movement when it happened in the late 70s. It's like major record labels were signing punk bands by just shortly after like most punk bands' first gigs. You know, a punk band would start, play their first gig, you know, and they'd be signed to a major label right away, you know, just because it's a trend right now. And that just proves that there are a lot of old school dinosaurs in the record industry still who need to be weeded out. And one positive thing about that is that there are a lot of people our age, in our mid-20s to the 30s, who have pretty much the same ideals as we do, who are starting to infiltrate the major label record companies. You know, they're starting to get jobs there. They're getting jobs at MTV. They're getting jobs in all those companies and at labels. So eventually the old people will die. You know.
Maybe this is the white suburban kids who want to have their thing that they can relate to, as just as much as the black kids could to hip-hop and the black music.
Yeah, I know, it just seems like, especially like popular culture, things are just like so hazy anymore between the generations. Like rock and roll you even have your own allotted rock band for your generation. Like if you're between 40 and 50 years old, you have like Mark Knopfler and Genesis and Elton John, and you know, and the young kids have like us and Sonic Youth or whatever. So even
but there are a lot of kids. There are a lot of kids like in high school who are listening to the same music as their parents. You know, it's really gross. It's not as bad as it was just a few years ago. I remember, you know, the same kids in high school listening to Bruce Springsteen, and so were their parents. You know, there's like no generation gap at all. And I think that there's just starting to become a generation gap again.
A lot of that depends on your circumstances too, and how much information you get where you live, right? In the city, you're more inclined to be into the more hip stuff. You're out the rural places, forget it, you know.
But I hope you agree with me when I think that the future is kind of, you know, looks bright for good music, for good rock.
Yeah.
Well,
you never know.
I think the future looks good for good bands with integrity to be exposed, to at least have the opportunity to be exposed. But I've always felt that, like, every 10 years there's always a handful of really, really good bands. You know, there always has been. If I would have grown up in the 60s, the late 60s, I would have only liked a handful of bands. I think most of it's bullshit, you know, like Strawberry Alarm Clock and Vanilla Fudge and all that stuff. It's just crap, you know. But most of that stuff is looked upon now as being really cool, you know. But I only would have liked Blue Cheer and the Stooges, you know, and Black Sabbath. I can only think of like maybe 5 bands I would have liked if I would have grown up in those days, you know. And that's the same way it is now. I can think of about 10 bands I really, really like.
Plus, there's so much opportunity for exploitation. I mean, you can look at, you were saying how thank you for bringing rock music back, and a few years back it was like, you know, rap music, and there was a point where rap was underground, and it took about 10, 12 years for it to become mainstream, and now there's like, you know, Vanilla Ice and New Kids on the Block. I mean, just total exploitation, and it can happen independent, like, you know? Yeah,
and those people are the ones who always reap the benefits too, you know? Like, what's that guy's name?
Why's Fab Five Freddy? What's he doing in Vanilla Ice is a total millionaire?
Yeah, right. The guy that was, I can't remember the name. The guy that, I was totally missing my mind. I can't remember who it was.
Maurice Starr.
Maurice Starr?
Right. He's the general. He's the New Kids on the Block's manager. And it went to his head so much that he started wearing this like flashy Liberace type general suit around. Like, well, I'm the general.
He's a rock star.
He's a generalissimo. What is he going to do is he's going to take over some third world country with some junta and be CIA funded. And you know what? And you know who's going to be president? It's Donnie from New Kids on the Block. He's going to be a puppet for the CIA and United Fruit.
And then they're all going to commit suicide, right?
That's right. In Jonestown type Kool-Aid. They're going to drink.
Mom and Dad went to a show. They dropped me off at Grandpa Joe's. I kicked and screamed, said please no. Grandma take me home. 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 I had to eat my dinner there. Mashed potatoes and stuff. I couldn't chew my meat too good. Grandma take me home. 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 Said my daughter, stop crying. Go outside and ride your bike. That's what I did. I killed my toe. Grandma take me home. 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 Grandma take me home.
Let's talk about you for a while. Is it fun to be famous?
Not if you're walking down the street.
Not when people recognize you. Not when you can't have a moment. You can't. The people are waiting in the lobby of your hotel and constantly asking you for your signature, which still baffles me. I don't understand the autograph concept at all, but I figure it's almost a waste of breath to explain to people why you don't want to do it. But it's stupid. I mean, what is famous?
It can be a burden, you know. To be wanting to be famous, kind of vain, really. If you think about it. Everybody, look at me, you know. It's like it'll pass someday. You know?
Most people who are really famous end up staying in their hotel rooms all the time. Total reclusives, and then they don't do anything. That sucks.
It's a scaring perspective, isn't it?
I don't want to turn into that kind of a person, but I can understand why Prince is such a freak, you know? Because people, you know, paw him all the time, you know? And I try to walk around in every town and go to record stores and stuff, and I really don't get hassled that much, but it's enough to make me really think about, well, should I go into this record store, you know? And I shouldn't have to even think about stuff like that, but I guess that's fame, you know? And until people's attitudes change about fame and guitar solos and all that kind of stuff, I'll just have to put up with it.
I'm so happy, 'cause today found my friends are in my head. I'm so ugly, that's okay, 'cause so are you. Book of mirrors, Sunday morning is every day for all I care. And I'm not scared, light my candles in our days, 'cause I found God.
Lots of people think that you're really wild people, you know, taking shiploads of drugs every day and, you know, wrecking hotel rooms and stuff. I suppose you've met that kind of attitude.
Well, I think a lot of people have the basic misconceptions, just whatever, the hotel trashing, drug doing.
It's just cliches.
Yeah, and it's just stupid. I mean, hey, we're a rock band. We're
It's all
supposed
Everett
to do
True's
drugs,
fault.
you know?
It's all Everett True's fault. Do you know who he is? He's
Yeah.
the biggest rock star journalist there is in the whole world right now. Yeah. It's all his fault. He lies about us all the time. He's a dick. I hate his guts. No, I'm just kidding.
That's another chapter, the rock press. Are
You just had him in a headlock over there.
Is he here?
Yeah, he's here.
He's here.
Oh, yeah. No, he's a good friend of ours. He's fine.
But I've heard
If you don't have a story, you may as well lie about it, right?
Well, that's what I've heard. You lie to journalists constantly.
Well, journalists lie about us. Why can't we lie about
Yeah,
It just
right.
depends what's going on. You know. Never let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Exactly.
It's a shame when the media does that, though. They have such a responsibility to just proliferate such garbage like that. It's a shame.
I'm so lonely, that's okay. Shake my head, and I'm not sad. And just maybe I'm to blame for all I've heard. And I'm not sure. I'm so excited, I can't wait to meet you there. And I don't care, I'm so horny. That's okay, my will is good. Yeah.
When it comes to your future, there's all sorts of rumors going on about how your next album will sound. Some people say it's going to be really wild, raw and confusing. Some say it's going to be really quiet and acoustic and pretty.
How does anyone know? Do we even know?
Where did they get the input information?
We're recording our record next month. Did you know that?
Are we going to do it in my basement? Are we going to do it in my basement?
That.
Where are we gonna
some
do it?
of it. I'd like to try to do some of it, but I think I'd like to do it reciprocal. and with Steve Albini and Jack Endino. Not at the same time, but I was thinking maybe we should record like all the songs with Jack Endino and then all the songs with Steve Albini and then some with Barrett and then and then like pick the best of all.
So we're gonna do it next month?
I'd love to.
We have to. It has to be.
great.
It has
I'd
to
like
be
to do it
pressed
right
by
away.
November. See, that's the whole thing. It has to be like on the shelves by November.
Yeah.
Is that in your contract?
No, that's just our.
That's
It is
our
now.
demands.
Damn it. We'll just send them this tape.
You only have contract for one more record, is that right? With Geffen?
Oh no, 7, 6,
Seven?
6 or 7. You know,
Oh,
our
I see.
career.
Are you pleased with that company,
is.
the way they work?
Yeah, they're good.
They're nice people.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
a major
yeah.
label.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, but even it's just all business type, rock and roll business. Ties my head in knots,
It's better to keep your mind off of the business aspect of the whole deal. And just focus on
It's kind of gross.
eating.
But you have to be aware of it, or people start taking advantage of you. You know, you have to check in every once in a while.
What else should I be? All apologies. What else should I say? Everyone is gay. What else should I write? I don't have the right. What else should I be? All apologies. In the sun, I feel as one. In the sun, married.
I can see an attitude with new bands like the last.
Well, like here's a band like
3 or 4
Extreme.
years.
Here's a band like Extreme, some total schlock rock band, right? And we played with them at some festival. I don't know why, but they are in an alternate reality than ours. They are in that rock and roll rock reality, and it's just it's
they
a different
want it.
reality.
They surround themselves with these professional dickhead commercial rock and roll guys who, like, when they show up at an airport, their manager runs in ahead of them and tells the people who are greeting them
No
at
video.
their label.
No video.
No video.
They're like,
we want
"Hey!"
to pass straight to the van. Here's what we need. We want to pass straight to the van. We don't want any pictures taken. It's like, so what?
And I'm not even really sure if they're aware of that things can actually operate on a different level.
I don't think they're aware of how much they suck.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's not the type of
bad.
bands that I was talking about.
No, you said the new bands have
Yeah.
integrity.
Yeah.
It wasn't always like that because in the past there was dinosaur rock, Zeppelin, limousines and caviar and cocaine.
Yeah, and the kids who were starting new bands were blinded by that in a way, and so they fell for the traps. And I don't think they do that anymore.
No, because it's just it's ridiculous if you think about it. I think even the people who participated in that, who they're all in their 50s now, they look back at all the excess of the 70s, and it was just gross. I think they probably even shudder when they think of it. It's just, I just couldn't see myself doing anything like that. It's not realistic,
I realized I forgot a question. This is very embarrassing. But you were talking about how and when you were going to record the new album, but not how it would sound.
How would it sound?
Will it be this raw, wild, and confusing thing, or will it be acoustic
Raw,
and
wild,
pretty?
and confusing. That's a good album cover or a name. Our next record, Raw, Wild. If our record's that name, you're gonna go shit. You're gonna go those guys, man. Raw, wild, and confusing. We're gonna be on the cover going. No, one of us is gonna look raw. Is gonna be naked. One of us is gonna look wild with loincloth and like some wild man. One of us is gonna look really confused. Raw, wild, and confusing.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, both. Mixture of both.
Yeah.
It won't be as clean as the last album, that's for sure. Maybe a few songs will, but really don't want to go into a 24-track studio and have a professional producer and a professional mixologist at the wheels. I think we'd like to do it ourselves this time.
And you're not going to work with Butch Vig?
I don't know.
The next record's going to be kind of a litmus test towards an audience and see what they're capable of. If they want to hear all the pretty songs, or if they want to hear something a little more challenging. Never mind, it's kind of candy-ish, glossy, you know.
Too, Alex, now that you put
Okay.
it in. You want to start smoking first?
You don't smoke?
Vices.
Ooh, look at that guy. He just ran into that rock.
I know that you've been, I mean, the amount of touring and gigs that you've done now, I suppose have you know, been more than anything that you could ever have anticipated, like 2 years ago.
Actually, we've scaled our touring back.
It's not the amount of touring, it's just the scale of the shows that we're playing. I mean, we're playing everything on such a grand scale. It's something that we've never done before, especially like 5 festivals in a row. I mean, we've done the Reading Festival before, but it just gets pretty insane after a while.
Do you guys like it?
I don't think I really like it that much.
I don't mind it. I don't mind it.
I kind of enjoy playing outside, but it's about as
I definitely don't want to do this ever again. And if we do, I'd only like to do maybe a couple of outdoor festivals, you know. I don't want to do like a whole bunch in a row. It's just so impersonal and.
Well, if it's not outdoors, it's indoor, giant.
Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of like that better. But I have a feeling with the next record, we're gonna lose a lot of our audience.
Come, dust and mud, soaked in bleach, as I want you to be. As a trend, as a friend, as I know memory.
This is the Music Factory.